The digital lending app revolution has swept through Kenya.
True Pesa is the way to go, guys.
Zenka loan app,
Promising quick and easy access to cash.
Hizi za mobile banking nimeenda kwa mara mbili.
Hizi pressures za uko na shida, uko na emergency, ndio unapata ukichukua loan at that given time inakukula baadaye.
Juu ni easy to access, haihitaji guarantor.
But for many, this convenience has turned into a nightmare.
Sasa hii unapigiwa hata unaweza receive. Ndaka nikuweke mahali hata uwezi chukua simu ina hangi ilipuke.
Especially when they fail to pay.
Wacha sisi tuendelee kupigia simu. Jibu ndo maamua.
From digital and physical threats to financial ruin and mental anguish, this story paints a stark picture of the predatory nature of these services.
Hata nikija huku town, nao pia naweza kutana nao wamenijua, wanishike hata kwa njia, wanifanyie kitu kibaya.
Inafanya mpaka pressure yangu wanga inapanda na kuanga na pressure. Nilipata pressure juu hizi masimu, hizi pesa za simu.
It also looks into the regulatory challenges and potential solutions to combat this growing crisis.
How many people are able to go through those terms of reference?
Let's first begin by asking ourselves, is it safe to borrow from this particular institution? Is it something that is necessary? You know, am I able to repay?
There's a famous Swahili saying that goes, kukopa harusi, kulipa matanga. This saying analogizes borrowing to a wedding and payment of loans to a funeral. With the influx of digital lending apps in Kenya, the famous saying also speaks to a living and active reality of many entrapped in a web of an enticing but expensive promise of financial inclusion.
Mimi hufanya tu hizi casual work. Kufulia watu, kubebea watu maji. Kazi tu yani yenye inaweza tu nipea pesa yenye itaweza sustain watoto.
Life has not been easy for Asha Hassan, a resident of Soweto East in Kibra, Nairobi's biggest slum.
Mimi before nilikuwa nafanya biashara. So nilikuwa nimeweka tu biashara yangu vizuri ya kuuza juice, alafu napika food napeleka pale A&M. But ikafika point niko na watoto watatu. Hao watoto wakakuja wakaingia, wawili wako secondary na wewe mmoja ako primary.
Asha says providing for her family single-handedly took a toll on her, and she had to find a way to make ends meet after her business collapsed.
So wakati ile kazi iliisha ikabidi nikipata hata kazi hata kwa mimi mjengo nishawaifanya. Nafanya hapo, ukipata pesa hiyo wiki unapeleka. Ujue kwa chakula umekopa kopa. Ndio at least usukume deni ya school fees. Wakati mwalimu aliniambia watoto sasa wanataka kufanya mtihani, na ujue sasa mtoto kama wa form 4 anahitaji kwetu shuleni fully.
The desperate need to keep her children in school drove Asha to apply for a loan from a digital lender in January this year, and this is when her troubles began.
Nilikopa 15,000. February wakanipigia simu wakaniambia nafaa kuanza kulipa. So na wakaniambia hiyo siku yenye wamenipigia ndio nafaa kulipa. Nikamwambia sina pesa lakini nitatafuta kitu by the end of the day. Wakaniambia wangoje the end of the day.
According to Asha, the entire year 2024 has been a nightmare due to numerous calls she receives demanding that she pays the loan.
Kwa kupiga simu ndio walikuwa wananiambia tutakuja kukushika, tutakutrace mpaka mahali unakaa. So kwanza tu wakati waliniambia hivyo nilikuwa naishi na uoga. Kila time hata mtu akipiga, kuna namba zilikuwa zinanipigia si watu lakini ilifika point sishiki juu sasa naona tu ni watu. Ndio ikanifanya nikachoka juu sasa hizo simu mpaka messages. After 5 second message nyingine, after 10 minutes message. Yani zilikuwa zinafanya mtu anakuwa uncomfortable.
Asha's experience resonates with many Kenyans attracted to digital lending services by both the allure of quick and unsecured loans channeled through the mobile money transfer service M-Pesa.
We have moved from the Stone Age, just like human being evolved. Back then, lending was very strict. However, with time we have seen access to credit made easy. Also the banks being stopping being very rigid, but also introduction of we can call them the good online or mobile lending. But we have also seen a vast growth in the online lending that has really come out to almost close some doors for some banks which are not very strong.
In its statement to the press, released on October 1, 2024, the Central Bank of Kenya announced the licensing of an additional 27 digital credit providers from 7 DCPs licensed in June the same year. This brings the number of mobile loan applications allowed to legally operate in Kenya to 85, with CBK in the process of reviewing more applications. According to the statement, CBK has received more than 730 DCP applications for licensing since March 2022. Ann Kihagi, a finance expert who has close to 2 decades experience in working in the banking sector, attributes this influx of digital lending services to several factors, among them the speed with which these loans get approvals.
Technology has brought us money close to us by almost removing all those, the time, the stringent requirement, and also approval from so many people. Like you would imagine, like if you have an issue with a group member, they will not approve your loan. So, but with the digital lending, it is my phone, my bank, or the person lending me, and the money that I need.
This and the high cost of living has made digital lending apps a quick source of refuge for many, especially the low and middle income earners.
All you need is your Play Store. Uko nayo?
Unakam tu hapa kwa Play Store.
In addition, the easy access to these loans on the widely used Google App Store and constant and relatable advertising by popular influencers via different social media platforms has made digital lending an attractive venture.
So they have made it so appealing. And definitely, if I bring food close to you when you're hungry, the demand for that food, your body will definitely react to it. But there are many things that we don't look into, which could be the reason why, no matter how much they are bringing in money close to us when we need it, we also have to be very, very careful.
Mental health ilikuanga iko disturbed kabisa, because najua sasa ile simu ikilia ni ule wasiwasi. At time uko na a very important call, lakini sasa jio namba hujai save, unakosa kuchukua, alafu unakuja unapata ilikuwa something ikusaidie.
Margaret Kamuru, also a resident of Kibra, shares her experience with a digital lending app after she failed to pay a loan of 35,000 shillings.
So nikichukua for that purpose ilikuanga just to fit my needs in my campus life, because kuna zile vitu zenye nilikuwa nahitaji zifanyike, na so ikabidi sana nichukue hiyo loan. Sasa ndio at least ni buy phone, ni change vitu. That's how nilianza nayo, tukagrow nao, but ilifika pahali kakuwa ngumu.
According to Kihagi, the desperate need for instant financial solutions makes it even harder for borrowers to read and understand the terms of these loans.
There are things that are written called terms and conditions that many people do not read. So we will first blame the borrower because they have seen a pop-out. There is need for money. They do not read or query how credible. They don't even ask around. You make an application and you get your money. Okay,
unajua sasa ukichukua loan kwa mobile app, zile terms zinakuja ni pages mingi, na we at that given time uko na haja ya do. So uta scroll tu mbio, click agree and continue, na hata hujasoma hizo terms. So kitu lini attract ni ati ilikuwa very easy to access. You know, kitu lini attract na terms and condition hata sikusoma.
For many borrowers, this means being unknowingly subjected to high interest rates which become difficult to pay back.
Ni venye pia hawa wataki kutu-understand. Ukieleza mtu hauna kazi, yeye hataki kuku-understand. Ukimweleza biashara iko chini, hawataki kuku-understand. Wanakupea pressure like unataka tu kusikia kukufa.
The same social media platforms used to market these digital lending services are also awash with harrowing tales from thousands of loan defaulters. This private Facebook group called Loan App Victims Kenya, for example, was created 2 years ago as a support group for those who have experienced harassment from digital lenders. One of the most prominent complaints is that this harassment extends to family and friends of borrowers in an attempt to pressure defaulters to pay.
One of the things that is criminal, and I would really feel bad that some of the institutions that are supposed to safeguard Kenyans, maybe they are not doing their work right, is that your data is shared, even where you have never ever shared your ID number or your name or your phone number. Someone will write you a message telling you that, we offer this kind of loan. So your data is never safe.
While lack of digital safety and constant debt shaming are common problems facing defaulters of digital lending apps, these threats have brought a unique challenge of physical harm and tangible danger. Sunrise in Kisumu signals the start of a beautiful day. Every morning, the promise of productive activities ebb from the magnificent shores of Lake Victoria to the streets of the city. But for this resident, whom we will call Halima to protect her identity, this city remains a bittersweet memory.
Kukuja town, saa zingine nikija town huwa nakuja na buibui na mtandio. Yeah. Hata leo asubuhi vile nilikuwa nimekuja na buibui na mtandio, hali nimeiacha tu hapo mahali nilikuwa nimeenda kufanya kazi. Sasa umejua ukiwa na mtandio, wakati ule walikuona umejivaa tu kawaida, ukiwa na mtandio hawezi jua ni wewe.
For several months, Halima has been disguising herself to protect her safety. In addition to restricting her movements within the city and shifting to a different location, Halima says this is the only way to keep herself and her family out of danger from a group of businessmen who also double up as loan providers. Halima's predicament began towards the end of 2023 when she took a loan from one of the digital providers to supplement her salon business.
Nimekimbilia loans kama mara hizi za mobile banking, nimeenda kwa mara 2. Nilikuwa nataka ninunue nywele na sikuwa na pesa ya kutosha. Nikaenda kwa mobile app nichukue pesa, nikaenda kwa Cashway. Sasa vile nilienda hapo nikaomba loan hapo, wakakubali kunipatia 1,500. Wakanipatia duration ya wiki moja nirudishe hii loan. Nilifanya hivyo, nikalipa kwa hiyo wiki moja, nikaomba tena.
According to Halima, easy access and a constantly increasing loan limit enticed her to borrow more money to grow her business, and this is where things took a different turn.
Vile niliongezewa hadi 8,000, nilikuwa nataka hiyo 8,000 nilikuwa nataka niende nichukue nywele. Niweke kwa duka, nikistock kwa duka inanisaidia na customer. Unapewa wiki 2 ya kurudisha au kuongezi muda. Vile walikupatia 3,000, 8,000 bado wanakupatia wiki 2 ya kurudisha. Kabla hiyo wiki 2 ishe, nilijaliwa na 500. Nikawasukumia. Vile niliwasukumia kujaribu kutafuta, hiyo wiki 2 ilifika kama bado sijapata hiyo yenye ilibaki niregeshe.
Halima says persistent calls to her and her family members often came with threats and insults.
Sasa huyo mwenye alinipigia aliniuliza kama hautaki kulipa hiyo pesa yenye tulikupatia ndio tukuongeze ingine. Wewe unataka sisi wenye tunafanya kazi ili ukirudisha hiyo pesa ndio tunalipwa. Ukikataa kulipa unataka sisi tulipwe na mamako.
Cashway, a digital lending app run by Rising Credit Limited, is among the 85 digital credit providers licensed by the Central Bank of Kenya. On the Google App Store, it brands itself as a safe loan in Kenya. It boasts of a 3.8 average star rating with more than 5 million downloads and over 22,000 reviews. While most have given a 5-star rating, a considerable number of the app users have complained about sudden reduction of the loan payment period and harassment by its debt collectors. This user claims of a reduced payment duration from 28 days to less than a week. Another user alleges spamming and incessant calls from the app, while this user claims to have been threatened by a customer service agent who used the words, and I quote, "You will regret," end of quote. There are also claims of exorbitant interest rates charged by the app, which Halima attests to.
Okay, terms vile nili request hiyo ya kwanza, nikaambiwa nikipewa hiyo watanipatia 1,500 lakini watakata 100 tu kwa hiyo pesa yenye wananipatia. Hapo nilipewa 1,340. Yeah. Sasa wakati nilikuwa nailipia nikalipa hii 1,500.
They are also not protected against being lent a lot of money or little money at very high and exorbitant interest. You realize that you can borrow a loan of 30,000 and then you pay within a month 40,000. When you look at that interest, no matter how much you needed that money, you need to be very, very careful.
This user, who dropped a comment on the 13th of October, complains of taking a loan of 28,000 shillings only to pay back a total of 50,000 shillings in a period of 4 weeks, which translates to an interest rate of 78%.
Sasa watu wa app ya simu walikuwa wananipigia simu wakiongea vibaya. Nilitaka nimalizane nao, alafu nitoe hiyo app, ni delete everything about them. Juu sasa walikuwa wananipigia na namba tofauti na nikisikia sauti wakijiintroduce wasema wanatoka kwa hiyo nini na block hiyo namba juu walikuwa wanaongea vibaya.
Desperate to get the callers off her back, Halima took a step that she now regrets.
Kuna mrembo wangu bado the same customer. Sasa mwingine tena. Nilipigiwa kia hapo ndani. Akasikia watu wananiongelesha about hiyo loan yenye nilichukua kwa simu. Nikamweleza, kaniambia mimi mali huwa nafungua nguo. Kuna watu wanapeana pesa huko. Nao ukichukua pesa kwao wanakata, utarudisha na 50% interest.
For refuge, she borrowed 10,000 shillings from one of the local loan sharks in the city, who double up as traders and security personnel. This unregulated loan business is popular in Kisumu and its environs, where residents borrow at an interest rate of 10% per day.
Wakikuja kukupatia pesa, hawakupatii kwa simu. Wao wanabeba pesa cash. Yeah. Wakikupatia wanakupatia cash. Na ukiwalipa, mimi chenye walisema hawataki pesa kwa simu.
Halima says trouble started when she could no longer raise the daily interest nor the principal amount.
Ngambia na sasa sijapata hiyo pesa. Na nikipata, nimejua hiyo 15 days ikiisha yenye mlinipatia, hiyo last day mpaka iwe nimepata hiyo pesa na nimewapatia yote. Akasema hapana, atufanyagi kazi hivyo. Hatufanyi kazi, itabidi tu umetupatia pesa. Usipotupatia pesa tuharibu vitu hapa ndani ama tukupigi. Na umejua wamebeba rungu. Niko na clients na clients wangu wote ni wanawake, sisi tuko wanawake hapo ndani. Sasa tumeogopa like. Sasa kwani imekuwa ni vita.
She now fears for her life and was forced to close her salon business and move from the city to keep herself and her family safe.
Sasa inabidi nitoke huko nyumbani nikija kazi. Sasa siji kila siku. Labda tu customer akinipigia simu ndio nije. Kama kuna customer nabaki tu nyumbani.
Unaenda kupengine kwa polisi?
Polisi ukienda chenye najua ukienda kwa polisi watataka evidence. Yeah. Na maybe hiyo evidence ndio maana mataki mambo na simu. Anakutumia kwa simu ama unamtumia kwa simu. Yeah.
With the help of a local, we secretly filmed an interview with one well-known loan shark in Kisumu, where I pose as someone in need of money.
Unapata yani kama ni 1,000. Narudisha na pesa ngapi?
100.
1,000 narudisha 100 kila siku. Mara ngapi?
Ile ambayo imechukua hiyo kama imeweka hiyo kwa wiki. Na hiyo imeweka kwa wiki. Nilipa 100 kila siku.
This man, who identifies himself as Paul, justifies the 10% daily interest rate.
Na hiyo si ni juu sana.
Si juu.
Kwa nini unasema si juu?
Si juu.
Si utakuwa umekula 1,000 mara 2 na 500 ingine.
Najua lakini hiyo sasa hiyo pesa kuna faida ambaye analeta ile ambaye hiyo tumbili simetoka kwa mifugo.
Secondly, he insists that one must pay money owed to a loan shark no matter their circumstances.
Akishindwa kulipa. Kama wale watu wanasumbuanga, unafanya aje?
Sasa mimi sijajua. Nafanya kenye nataka. Na
acha unafanya kile unataka. Hiyo ni kumaanisha nini? Hiyo ni kumaanisha nini?
Sasa naye hiyo pesa. Hiyo pesa huwezi kupeleka hiyo mahali sana. Sema live tu.
In addition, Paul admits that those involved in this loan business may resort to violence to settle stubborn debts owed to them.
Lakini kuna nyingine wasira. Hata hiyo pesa hotel lakini kupiga kabisa hiyo aende. Hata Kenya. Kuna deni ya ng'ambo.
As we wind up our conversation with Paul, we learn that most victims of these violent debt collection measures are women, and such cases are seldom reported to the authorities.
A woman will never want her children to sleep hungry. And this is why their gullibility level is very high, and that is why they will resort into borrowing.
We reached out to the mobile loan companies mentioned by characters in this story. Using the phone number provided on Google Play Store, we reached out to Cashway, from whom Halima borrowed. Rising Credit is the owner of Cashway. Yes, we had some questions you wanted to ask.
Okay, I'll just give you an email whereby you'll just email us. Then from there you'll get a response.
Okay. Despite sending our questions via email as directed, we received no response.
I would say, I do think your role as a lender has to be taken very seriously, and I do think each lender actually has to aspire to operate within the guardrails of responsible lending. So that just means, how are you taking time to understand the customer and their ability to repay, filtering out for fraud, really, making sure there's informed consent in the journey on what data you actually need and why you need it. And being very clear on the terms of the loan, so that at any one point, each customer knows what they're signing up for in very simple terms.
Economic status of our country, most of the young people are not facing unemployment. And in as much as we are talking about starting small businesses to sustain themselves, sometimes it becomes very hard. Not to protect the fact that sometimes they also take loans out of ignorance.
As digital lending apps and other types of credit endeavor to profit from desperate Kenyans, Habu Dorcas is on a race to sensitize residents of Kangemi, an informal settlement in Nairobi, about these apps and their disadvantages. Apart from holding frequent meetings, 2 years ago, she initiated a program where, together with other volunteers, she aims to translate the terms and conditions of different credit facilities to vernacular languages spoken in the country.
There are very few people who create time to go through those documents, and that is why we came up with one of the recommendations is to translate those documents.
The group has attempted to translate the terms of the Women Enterprise Fund, a government loan facility introduced during the Kibaki regime to economically empower women.
So far we've translated it into 3 languages. That is the Luya, Kisii, and Kamba. They're here.
The translations are distributed to the women in hard copies. While this is a noble and well-meaning project, Dorcas and her group face immense challenges which hinder its effectiveness.
It has been very hard to translate some of these documents because you see, first of all, we'll need resources and time too, because most of these documents are very bulk. 15-page document, you're supposed to translate it to a local language.
I think that is amazing. I do think at the end of the day, it has to be a grassroots approach. And what I mean by grassroots approach is you have to speak to people in the languages that they understand. And for us, it's more of how do you move from high level complicated to making it very simple on how do you borrow, where do you borrow, how do you actually borrow responsibly.
Oftentimes, conversations about digital lending apps, their unstable terms, predatory interest rates, and impact on digital and physical safety as well as mental health are downplayed and turned into comical jokes.
Okash, mali ulichukua mkopo ya 2,500. Unakumbuka hapo?
Sikumbuki.
Haukumbuki?
Wewe ni tala?
Kama sasa naona ni kama na wao around 68, of which naomba tu at least hizo vitu zikiweza funguka naweza penda nilipe hiyo burden, at least niondokee kwa shoulders.
But this light approach to a serious matter conceals the reality of living in debt faced by Kenyans in different parts of the country.
Economy imekuwa tough. People hata to put food on the table imekuwa tu ngumu sana. Sasa hata watu wa apps watuelewe, as much as we want to borrow from them, pia watu understand that tunaweza pata tulipe vizuri ama tukose.
Chenye naweza ambia wamama wenzangu ama mtu yeyote mwenye anataka loan, afadhali afuate njia mwafaka ya kutafuta loan, asichukue kwa Masai ama mobile app. Hizo njia mbili ni balaa ya kulingana na experience nimepitia.
Meanwhile, with the government still reviewing applications to license more digital credit providers, both experts and victims of these services stress on the need for stringent measures to curb a growing menace.
Yes, we wish to continue. So far we have been trying to see how we can mobilize resources to support some of these activities, and we are hoping that moving forward, even through the people that we are engaging them, you know, sometimes we are not supposed to be relying on donors. Even among ourselves, we are able to mobilize a few resources and support some of these activities.